Imagine being handed the job of replacing the man who dominated English football for nearly a decade. Not just a good manager, but the man many people openly call the greatest manager in the history of the sport.
Pep Guardiola sat there for 10 years, widely regarded as the best coach on the planet. So does that make following him the toughest job in world football?
That is exactly what awaits Enzo Maresca at the Etihad. Pep Guardiola turned the most fiercely competitive league on the planet into Manchester City's own playground for nearly a decade. So the question is succeeding someone like that the toughest job in world football?
Do you think Manchester City is the top job for a manager these days?
Absolutely, yes. It's a fantastic job. It's nice, it's excited, and for me, it's a privilege.
Perhaps it is. But if you had to choose one person qualified enough to step into those shoes, it would be hard to find a more fitting candidate than Pep's former student. The man who quietly played a role during the most glorious era in the club's history.
The ambition is to try to leave this club even more stronger that I found. The club is already strong, but hopefully the ambition is that in the future I can leave this club in a stronger position.
Before becoming a professional head coach, Enzo Maresca made a significant mark at Manchester City's youth academy. During his time in charge of the U23s, he never lowered the standards for his young players, instead raising everything to first-team level, forcing 18-year-old kids to train under the kind of intense pressure normally reserved for a Champions League final. That mentality turned every training session into a real match, where tactical discipline and professional thinking were always placed above everything else. Those demanding standards quickly paid off when he led the U20s to the Premier League, 2 titles in the 2020-2021 season, bringing the club its first ever title in the competition. From this demanding training ground, a host of young talents such as Cole Palmer, Romeo Lavia, Tommy Doyle, Liam Delap and Taylor Harwood bellies were shaped and prepared to step onto the biggest stage. However, the academy's greatest value went far beyond trophies, also served as a laboratory where Maresca developed his own footballing philosophy. Whether starting with a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, his teams would immediately transform into a 3-2-5 or 2-3-5 as soon as they gained possession, creating numerical superiority across the pitch. That transformation in tactical structure was most clearly reflected in the way Maresca utilised each position on the field. The goalkeeper was not simply responsible for making saves, but acted as a fourth defender during build-up, helping stretch the opposition's defensive line and opening up favourable passing lanes. At the same time, one full-back would move inside alongside the holding midfielder to form a central pair controlling the middle of the pitch, maintaining the balance between attack and defensive transition. Once possession was lost, the entire team would immediately drop into a 4-4-2 pressing structure, with an attacking midfielder pushing forward alongside the striker to close off every passing lane through the middle. The sophistication and effectiveness of this tactical system was so impressive that Pep Guardiola himself later adopted and implemented it directly with Manchester City's first team.
So we are the light, like Enzo Maresca has done, all organization has done with EDS. He showed he will become an extraordinary manager in the future. Extraordinary. I feel it. Like I felt it when I saw Mikel Arteta, as the same with Enzo. Will be an extraordinary manager. And he helped to develop many young players. Like I'm pretty sure next season is going to help us.
After gaining additional experience during a brief spell in charge of Parma in Serie B, Maresca returned to Manchester City in June 2022 to become Pep Guardiola's direct assistant. His return demonstrated just how highly Pep valued Maresca's ideas, with the Spanish manager once comparing his potential to Mikel Arteta, another outstanding student who developed from the Manchester City coaching staff. During the hugely successful season that produced the historic treble of the Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League, Maresca was the quiet but incredibly important piece behind Guardiola, the master architect. His clearest influence came through tactical improvements to City's build-up structure, evolving it into a 3-2-4-1, with John Stones repeatedly stepping into midfield alongside Rodri, precisely recreating the idea of using a defender to control the central area that Maresca had successfully experimented with at youth level. With this central midfield pairing in place, the space in the middle of the pitch was maximised, allowing Kevin De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan to move freely between the lines, while giving the wingers more space to exploit in one-on-one situations. The system not only strengthened City's attacking power, but also provided greater defensive cover as Rodri and Stones controlled the centre, allowing Manchester City to maintain relentless pressure without leaving their flanks exposed to counter-attacks. Those days working side by side with Pep Guardiola during that historic treble became the perfect final semester allowing Maresca to complete his footballing education and step into the spotlight as a genuine head coach. Taking those refined philosophies into a new challenge, Maresca officially took over as Leicester City's head coach on June 16, 2023, a moment when the club had just suffered relegation and faced one of the most demanding rebuilding projects in English football.
Leicester club as a big club, Premier League club, but the reality in this moment says that we are Championship club, so we need to have all the players with the same mentality, thinking that we are in the Championship, so we need to change something. And then from there, as I said, to build something important.
Determined to instill the soul of his new philosophy throughout the team, he even moved into the club's training ground and lived there during his first 2 months, probably prompting the logistics staff to half-jokingly ask whether he wanted them to register his permanent address there as well. That absolute dedication quickly produced sweet results as Leicester completely dominated the Championship in the 2023-2024 season, securing automatic promotion and being crowned champions after a 3-0 victory over Preston North End. The Foxes finished with an impressive 97 points, while Maresca himself made league history as the first manager to win the Manager of the Month award 4 times in the same season.
Enzo, many congratulations. Your first season as a manager in England, your first season as Leicester. Title winners, could it have gone any better?
Fantastic, yeah, fantastic. Has been an amazing season, tough in some moment, but it's football, we know that, but now we enjoy football. It's all about this. When you achieve the target and you see the people happy, we are very happy. The target, yeah, was we knew that Leicester, the target is to get promoted, but you never know. Football sometimes happen strange things. You can see how tough is this league. Many teams that they are there fighting, but now, yeah, we finish in the.
Leicester's overwhelming dominance came from a style of play that was completely transformed under Maresca's guidance. On the pitch, fullback Ricardo Pereira regularly moved inside alongside Harry Winks to control the midfield, while Yannick Vestergaard took on the role of distributor, using line-breaking passes to tear through the opposition's pressing structure. Out wide, Steffi Mavididi and Abdul Fatawu were constantly placed in favourable one-on-one situations, while the box-to-box pairing of Wilfred Ndidi and Kernan Dewsbury Hall pushed forward aggressively, ready to collect loose balls around the edge of the penalty area. This fluid yet highly effective style helped the Foxes score 89 goals, concede just 41, and maintain an average possession rate of 61.6%. They were not only dominant in possession, Maresca's side was also extremely proactive without the ball, willingly pushing their defensive line up toward the halfway line to swarm opponents rather than choosing to sit deep and absorb pressure like many other teams.
I found him like a lot different to anything that I'd worked with before. His ideas, he's got a philosophy that he sort of looked at even when he was playing, and he's sort of studied it. I think there's people like him, and De Zerbi was of the same mould, and obviously Pep as well, who Enzo worked under at City, and probably Arteta's got it as well. And they've got this philosophy and way of playing where I've studied this method. This is a tried and tested. Like it's going to happen. Like if you do it the right way, you will get success from it. And so he was very passionate about that way of playing.
That hugely successful stepping stone at Leicester quickly opened the door for Maresca to Stamford Bridge, where he took over Chelsea for the 2024-2025 season. Entering a new environment, the first challenge he had to face was an oversized, overcrowded squad with no clear direction. To solve the problem decisively, he immediately and openly crossed off players who were not part of his plans, a ruthlessness heavily influenced by Pep Guardiola, who had done the same with big-name stars at both Barcelona and Manchester City. While directly telling a player, "You will not have a chance to start," may come across as cold. That honesty is still far more humane than a manager putting on a polite smile before quietly abandoning a player on the bench for an entire season.
Guys, before you move, so it's positional game here and there, 4 minutes. Then after 4 minutes, you have box-to-box work. Then we come back in positional game. And then we go physical work. Positional game, physical work. Okay? We alternate. 1-on-1, 1-on-1, 1-on-1.
Alongside his decisiveness in squad management, Maresca's familiar tactical fingerprints quickly became clearly visible in Chelsea's build-up structure. Goalkeeper Robert Sanchez would regularly push high and leave his penalty area to act as an extra defender, allowing the team to confidently play through the press from the back rather than aimlessly launching long balls. Further forward, Malo Gusto would move inside from the right flank to partner Moises Caicedo, creating a platform for Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer to freely exploit the spaces between the lines and stretch the opposition's defensive shape. Without possession, Chelsea established an extremely intelligent and well-organised pressing structure, actively funneling opponents into carefully prepared traps. Narrowing the fullbacks also produced significant defensive benefits. Immediately after losing possession, the Blues consistently kept 5 players behind the ball to stop counterattacks, while the compact distances between the lines allowed them to transition back into attack with incredible speed. Those identity-defining improvements quickly translated into major trophies on the pitch. Chelsea won the Conference League in May 2025 before lifting the Club World Cup trophy in convincing fashion just 1 month later after defeating the reigning Champions League holders. In that historic final, Maresca's tactical influence once again came to the forefront as he instructed João Pedro to repeatedly stretch the opposition's centre-back pairing, opening enormous space down the right flank, the starting point for all 3 goals that decided the match.
Massive range of passing for Robert Sanchez, and Nuno Mendes has been cut out here. Malo Gusto had the composure to turn. Cole Palmer! Cole Palmer exploiting that space again. Now, what a trick from Palmer! Superb! Work needed in that regard. Palmer, João Pedro, it's 3, and Chelsea are running away.
His impact extended beyond team trophies as Maresca also left a significant personal mark through the revival and elevation of individual players within the squad. Under his guidance, Marc Cucurella transformed from a heavily questioned signing into an incredibly energetic left-back. Enzo Fernandez was free to push higher and score more regularly, while Nicholas Jackson's ability to drop deep was fully utilised to create numerical superiority in the middle of the pitch. Precisely because of his exceptional influence and ability to get the best out of his players, Maresca's decision to leave Chelsea created a psychological earthquake, leaving many fans stunned.
Highlighted, which was in autumn last year, the club was informed that our former head coach, that there might be an opportunity for him to succeed Pep Guardiola at the end of the season. It became clear to us that it was his strong desire to succeed Guardiola, and he was fully committed to pursuing the opportunity despite the fact that he was under long-term contract and had no right to terminate. In 2025 of December, our head coach unexpectedly abruptly resigned from the position. Obviously, we felt let down.
Few managers at Stamford Bridge have established such a strong connection with their players as he did, and to this day, he remains the only Chelsea manager to secure Champions League qualification while also collecting both major trophies available to him during such a short tenure. However, behind that shocking departure was one incredibly simple common denominator. Maresca had just officially accepted the dream job he had always wanted.
Yes, I can confirm this afternoon. One of the worst kept secrets in football, admittedly, but Enzo Maresca is now officially the new Manchester City manager, replacing Pep Guardiola, taking over after 10 years of Pep. We have a new man in charge. Maresca signed a 3-year contract, we're told, till the summer of 2029, and it'll be his 3rd spell at the club.
That ambition ultimately brought him back to where everything began, giving Manchester City supporters every reason to view Maresca's return with genuine optimism. This is not a stranger arriving with unfamiliar philosophies. He understood every corner of the club's identity from his time at the academy, then absorbed it even further while working alongside Pep Guardiola during the greatest season in the club's history. Now he returns to the Etihad in a completely different position, as a head coach who has experienced and conquered the highest level.
For the last 20 years, you see from grassroots, hand-on play, goalkeepers trying to play out from the back, false nines, all this has come from Pep Guardiola. So I think he'll do well because he's been there and he knows it. He's worked under, we saw him and Arteta both work under Pep, so they know a little bit of structure. They'll come in with a little bit of good grace from the players as well, because they'll know what they're getting. But I think it's very, very difficult, Adam. I really do, to see him go in and not only be a success, but to have that level of success for that amount of time would be really, really hard.
It's going to be difficult, like you stated, following a big manager like Pep Guardiola. And it's not just what he achieved on the football pitch, trophy-wise, and how he transformed the English game with what he did at Manchester City. 4 Premier League titles back-to-back, never been done before in English football. but he's at an advantage because he's been there before. It's going to be very difficult for him, but he has an advantage because he has been at City before, so he understands the club, he understands the players and what it means to be at Manchester City. Not an easy job to take, but it's also one of those ones where it's not an opportunity that you're going to turn away from and walk away from.
In Maresca's hands is now a battle-tested army capable of bringing his philosophy to life. He has Rayon Shauki and Phil Foden, two highly unpredictable players with the ability to attack the half spaces and strike from distance.
Absolutely yes, absolutely yes. When you have the core of the team, with this kind of contract, for sure give the manager, but not only the manager, even the players and the club more stability.
He has Jeremy Doku, who remains a constant nightmare for every fullback. And especially in attack, instead of Liam Delap or Nicholas Jackson, he now has Erling Haaland, an elite upgrade that no manager in the world could possibly turn down, even if the price to pay is a few remaining hairs on his head. Although looking at the two of them, it seems both have already invested every last one of those in their football careers.
Yeah, the message for half-time was quite clear. As you said now, we cannot create the amount of situation 1v1, the amount of situation inside the box, and not finish the action. So there we need to be clinical. It's something that we need to improve. I think slowly we are getting better there. And yeah, I think also with, as you said, with Erling, we can be even more dangerous.
The challenge ahead is certainly enormous, but Manchester City has every right to believe after placing its future in the hands of a manager who has spent the past several years doing nothing but preparing for this exact moment. If you enjoy our video, don't forget to hit like to help this video reach to other football lovers, and hit the subscribe button to follow for more interesting videos about football stories. See you in the next video.